Welcome to another episode of Hutch on Hunting. This is your host, Bruce Hutchin. I'm heading out to Nebraska to meet with a good friend of mine, and we shared a beer or two. We've shared a turkey blind together, and we've shared some discussion at the Pullman National Convention. Um, his name is Mr. Kevin Paulson. He's been in the outdoor industry for over 22 years. He's knows what it takes to build an outdoor business. He also knows what it takes to help conservation groups grow, professional groups grow, and he also knows how to build his own company. So, Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Bruce. Appreciate the time to be here.
Hey, I love having you, love spending time with you. So let's jump right into it as we were just talking in the warm up. You've been since 19, or pardon me,
Well, 2002 is when I,
2002. I was going to say 1922, and that wouldn't have been right.
no, I'm not that old. Not that old. Thank
2002,
goodness.
Kevin entered into the outdoor industry. So, Kevin, let's talk about that and let's expand what it really takes to build a business, to build a brand in the outdoor industry.
That sounds fantastic. So yeah, I joined the outdoor industry in 2002. I bought into an outfitting business in Idaho and Montana, and had a partner. I really I liked him and his son, and I liked what they stood for. And at the time, and I walked in and kind of, had no idea what I was getting into. But, I wrote a big check and, I owned a third of an outfitting business in Idaho and Montana. We had 54 horses and mules and backcountry camps in both the Montana side and the Idaho side. And I really spent the majority of my time really on the Idaho side, guiding over there. And, got my first guide's license, I think, in 2004. And we hunted spring bear, mule deer, elk, and mountain lion. And we tell everybody that we would hunt moose with them, but we used to say only God would get drawn a tag. They were, nobody ever got drawn those for those tags, so especially non-residents. And but we had some success and did very, very well. We were an early market maker in the outfitting world of, like, lots of outfitters had websites, but they were all terrible. And when we walked in on day one, I bought gotelk.com, which, at that time, the got milk commercials were, really, really big. And so I bought got elk, and I had seen it on a t-shirt that somebody had, and the domain was available, and I bought it. And so, Centennial Trail Outfitters, and it was, gotelk.com, and you could go to our website. And we used, internet marketing tactics that, are used every single day today. But in 2002 to 2006, nobody was using them. And so, we had a blog, and I, kind of ran all of that. And we had a very set system for bringing, leads into our business. And I managed all of the marketing and sales, and then my partners kind of managed everything in the field, taking care of the horses and managing the equipment and getting the camp set up and doing all the hard work on the ground. And I would be the guy that would talk to all of the customers and get them booked on their flights and make sure that they were all there and they had all the equipment they needed. And I started writing the blog basically for that business. And I found out that basically I loved, that part of it. And, I hated being on the ground. I liked hunting and I liked individual guiding, but running the business on the ground was just not something I really, really enjoyed. And it wasn't something that, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and watering and feeding 54 horses and being in a camp and getting the cook up and washing dishes and getting, all of that taken care of, it's just like so overwhelming to me. And it wasn't, what I wanted to be doing. And in 2006, my dad passed away, and at a really young age. He's 60 years old. And, my dad retired at 55 from the United States Forest Service after 33 years. And he used to say, Kevin, I want 20 good years of hunt, fish, and trap and a little bit of golf. And, he got 5. And for me, that was just an instant wake up call. I basically, immediately sold my portion of the outfitting business. I got completely out of that business. I bought huntinglife.com that very next day. And over the next 3, 4 years, I kind of changed my lifestyle, and I ultimately moved out of Washington, D.C., doing the litigation support that I was doing at the time. Kind of moved to Nebraska and, pursued really, huntinglife.com full time. And I've been full time since 2010. This is all I do for a living is, run huntinglife.com. I do some consulting for businesses on the side, helping them run their websites, helping them do some of their marketing and things like that. Offering advice where I can. And then I spend the majority of my time, growing huntinglife.com and helping to build that business, but also like in the process, mentor new young outdoor writers into the fold because, in the hunting industry, if you look at the average age of outdoor writers and content creators, they're getting older and older, and myself included. And so, we've got to bring, young upstarts into, outdoor writing because the growth of hunting is going to be, based upon storytelling. And I've known that, my whole life. I mean, I remember sitting around the campfires when I was 4 and 5 years old, and my grandfather telling me stories of, my dad's antelope hunt in Wyoming and just being enamored with that story. And, reading men like Craig Boddington and Jack O'Connor and Jim Zumbo. And, I've gotten to meet all of those people. And in fact, I worked with Craig Boddington on his, Craig Boddington Deutsch Outfitter program. And, those people were my heroes. I read every article that they put out. And I learned from those individuals. And we, as an industry, have to do a better job of creating more people who are out there telling stories. And we certainly have some great success right now seeing, the Meat Eater crew and groups like that, really, really growing and doing a great job of storytelling. Brad Luttrell with Go Wild, he's doing some great storytelling and things like that in this industry. Yourself and the smattering of podcasts that are growing up right this moment. So we're getting back to, this age of, interviewing and storytelling and promoting hunting through, shared experiences. And I think that's incredibly important.
Mentoring is important. And that's one thing, that's one of the goals, the subset of Hutch on Hunting in my previous podcast, Whitetail Rendezvous, where I allow people to come in and tell stories. People say, well, I had a guy the other day said, hey, I'd like to be on your show. I said, great. He says, what's your format? I said, there isn't one. I sit around a campfire telling stories. He goes, well, how does that work? I said, works really good if you're a good storyteller. I said, if you're not a good storyteller, and if you have it scripted out, then you're probably not the right guest for my show. So when you think about mentoring young people, what's 5 things, 5 suggestions that you would have for anybody listening to the show that wants to, begin their career into the outdoor industry?
So in mentoring, young individuals for hunting is kind of different than mentoring young individuals who want to get into, content creation. In regards to, content creation, how I mentor those individuals is first and foremost, I give them a platform. With Hunting Life, I bring in these young writers. I'll give an example. We currently are mentoring, Bethany Bethard. And, Bethany is an incredibly talented outdoor writer, mom, Christian woman, homesteading. She teaches, homeschools her own kids at home. She's doing food preservation articles for us in our magazine right this moment. And she's kind of running a series over this entire year inside the magazine. But first and foremost, like we gave her a platform. We said, come on board for Hunting Life. We'll buy basically a membership for you into POMA. And you kind of like, it's kind of like an internship program. They come in, they write 20 articles with me for the website. And then basically from there, then their next step basically is to kind of start to write some articles for the magazine. And, we pay them $200 an article to come in and write, magazine articles. And throughout that entire process, like I'm introducing them to other people. And so I bring them to POMA, the POMA conference, and I introduce them to other editors, to other content creators, and other individuals all the way across the entire board so that they can begin freelancing for those individuals as well. And I basically, kind of run them through a coaching program that it's like, here's your first article, and, here's what was really good about it, and here's some things you need to work on. And we just kind of keep going through that process. And so, I can, young individuals coming on to Hunting Life, they're kind of coming into a classroom setting. But, they're going to have homework. And as long as they do that homework, it's really, really great. We've had some that will come in and they don't want to complete the assignments. And I'm like, well, I can't really help you. But there's others that, come in and they just absolutely crush it. And, very quickly they realize like, hey, Kevin, I could be going and doing this for Outdoor Life and Field and Stream and Turkey Call Magazine. And that's kind of what Bethany's doing right this moment. She's writing for Field and Stream and Outdoor Life. She just got her first article in Turkey Call Magazine. And so she's blowing up. And, for me, I'm just happy to watch that. And I'm happy to see that, and see her grow exponentially. And then from there, there'll be another one that comes on board, right underneath her. And we'll
Now,
just
how
keep
many
doing
people
that
can
for,
you work with? Just like you're working with Bethany, how many people during a year's time can you work with?
I could probably take on 10 individuals like right now. Like I'm ready to take on a complete 10. I'm currently working with 4 people at the moment, that are people that I would consider like I'm slowly mentoring them into the industry. But I could take on 10 very quickly. I would, happily do that.
So,
I have the ability to, and I have the content ready to go. Um, and I have the place and the readership that will, take on that much content. And on top of that, like I have partnerships with enough brands that are constantly wanting gear reviewed, and that is a part of what we do at Hunting Life is we review gear, and like we really review it. So we will, like I've got a mystery ranch pack right up here, and the mystery ranch pack came in 5 days ago, and that product needs to get tested. Well, during turkey season this year, that's the pack that I will be utilizing for turkey season, and I will be hunting with that pack and totally utilizing it, and then basically we'll write a review on that. But I have a list of 100 products right now that all need to get reviewed, or like companies want us to review. And so if I had 10 individuals right this minute, I could be feeding that gear directly to them, and then getting them started to learning that process, learning what our expectations are, et cetera. And then of course we want them to, that's only a part of the 20 articles that they write. That's probably half of those articles, because that's a big part of like the industry. The other half is like they're actually just doing stories and articles and how-to tips, and learning to shoot video and things like that.
let me ask you this. What do you think? What's your thoughts? Let me put it that way on AI.
About AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. I wrote an article probably 9 months ago in AI, and I totally used AI to create the entire article from start to finish. And it was on gun safes, and we put it up on huntinglife.com, and it was top 5 reasons to buy a gun safe. And I had AI completely write the entire article. And I read through it, and I was like, okay, it didn't say anything that was dangerous. It didn't say anything that wasn't incorrect. It was like the reasons, like, you should keep a gun safe because, it keeps guns away from, kids' hands when they shouldn't be able to touch them. And so, I read through the article and was like, yeah, that's good enough. And I put it up on the website and we got zero, like nobody read that article. Like today, it's still on the website, but nobody's reading that article because it has no personal voice. I think we've gotten one click on that article all the way through. Google realizes that it's AI content, and I realize it's AI content. I'm not going to put a lot of effort behind promoting it. And my realization was very quickly that AI cannot write content for hunting because it doesn't understand it. The people who are programming AI and who are writing the code do not understand hunting and guns and the safety factors necessary. And AI has no problem lying. It will say whatever it wants to say in order to fill a script or to fill a word count, and it doesn't care whether it's correct or not. And that is incredibly dangerous. Now, that being said, I have used AI to write meta descriptions for our articles. I have utilized it to find the best SEO keywords for our website. I have utilized AI to take an article that I wrote that was 3,000 pages. And I said, basically, can you take this 3,000 word article and create a 250 word summary for me? And it basically will do that exceptionally well. And then I can take that 250 word summary. I can then basically like rewrite it, make sure it's completely in my words, and then basically share it on another website with a link back to our article, so that basically it drives traffic back to us. There are things that AI can do incredibly well, but you have to have a plan for it, and you have to be able to understand its limitations. And as an outdoor writer, its limitation wholly is that it cannot write for you. It cannot create content for you. You need to do that and then utilize AI to help share your content, or utilize AI to craft it in such a way that it gets more, views and eyeballs on that great piece of content.
Yeah, my take on it, it has no soul. AI has no soul. It's an algorithm
Yeah.
made up by gazillions of words, and it's out there, but it doesn't have a soul. I use it in my daily post on my LinkedIn groups just to get information out there, like turkey season's coming up, top 10 reasons, to hunt turkeys along the Front Range of Colorado. Give me a 250, 300 word article on that. Boom. And it's done in seconds, so it's time saving. It's getting content out there. But when I read it, I said, this really doesn't have any soul, doesn't have any pictures, and it's not telling a story. It's just sharing information, which
Yeah, it's not
I
even
agree
good.
with
It's not
you.
even good.
It's dangerous. I mean, it is dangerous. It serves a purpose for me because I can reach a lot of people in a short period of time, and I'm just creating content. And for me to spend that same amount of time to do that um, would be triple, the amount of time. So I
Yeah,
appreciate.
I think it's far better. I think it's far better to utilize AI in such a way where you would write the 250 word, top 10 reasons to go hunt turkey on the Front Range, and then basically ask AI to share that for you in 20 different locations. There's far better ways to utilize AI than having it write that content, because the content's just junk. And so you're right. I would rather hear the soul. I mean, the reason why people come to Hunting Life is because they want to read and hear the voices that we put out there. And the reason they go to Meat Eaters because they want to listen to Ryan Callahan and they want to listen to Stephen Ranella. The reason why people come to Hutch on Hunting is because they actually want to hear from Hutch. That's the end result is, I read Jim Zumbo for, my entire life. I'm still reading Jim Zumbo, and I'm reading him because he's funny and it's enjoyable and I can relate to him. And, I love his content. And, the reason I read, Craig Boddington is because, he's traveling to Africa and he understands the animals and the species and the outfitters and the everything that's going on the ground and the conservation. And I'm learning. And, for those individuals, that's what I'm going there for. Jack O'Connor was probably, the greatest wordsmith, hunting has ever had. And, you read his stuff and you fell in love with, Western big sage prairie and, high country and a 270 rifle that, that's what I fell in love with. And, it's part of the reason that I hunted. And, it's part of the reason my dad hunted.
Yeah, I think Jack O'Connor, he was he was a pioneer. And when people ask me, what about hunting? I said, you got to read the works of the people that came before, the sages now, because the
Yeah.
wisdom is 50 years old. And yes, everything, the gears changed, the rifles haven't changed, the ballistics haven't changed, but the hunt is the same. And
Yeah.
if you can grasp that concept, then you have a soul and you can sit around the campfire sharing those stories, sharing those memories and sharing. And that's what people want, whether they're my age, your age, or just starting in their quest in the outdoor industry, is because they become a great storyteller. The guy I got to know um, always told me, he said, Bruce, the words just connect the photos. And his name was
Yeah.
Judd Cooney, who's written thousands and thousands of articles, and he's 80 some years old now. But he told me that a long time ago. And he says the photos tell the stories. It used to be the stories with the photos. He says in today's environment, landscape, it's the photos that connect the words to the stories.
Mhm.
And that's what publishers want. So if somebody's out there listening, hearing this Touch on Hunting podcast with Kevin Paulson, how do I get a hold of Kevin saying, hey, Kevin, I'd like to send you my resume. I'd like to find out, what your qualifications are. How do I get involved with hunting life?
They just drop me an email, kevin@huntinglife.com. And that is the easiest way. Of course, you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and all. I mean, we're at Hunting Life on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. But people can just directly email me, kevin@huntinglife.com, and I answer and read every email that comes to me. So I don't have a virtual assistant yet for handling my email. I wish I did, but I could at least sort it out. Like this is junk mail, and etc. But I don't have that yet. But yeah, I know I read every email that I get, and so if you're a young writer, if you're a young content creator, if you are looking for help in growing your reach as a content creator, reach out to me because I am always going to be looking for content. I will always be hiring outdoor writers. It will never go away. I mean, till the day I sell Hunting Life, and then if I sell Hunting Life, then I'll be working on the next project right after that.
You mentioned earlier that you got uh, Bethany membership in POMO. What is
Mhm.
POMA and why is it important to you?
POMA is the Professional Outdoor Media Association. And POMA was the very first writers organization that I joined when I came into this industry. My very first SHOT Show, I met a young lady, Laura Lee Dovey, and Laura Lee was the executive director of POMA at the time. And her and Tammy Sapp were kind of running the organization at that moment. I think Tammy was the president, or getting close to being the president of the organization. And they basically said, Kevin, you got to come join us. And it was $200 a year. And I said, absolutely. And so, I did. And basically, I began this process. And as I began bringing in young writers into hunting life, I brought in a stable of young men that at the time, it was all young men, but I brought in like 5 different people, and all of them basically came into hunting life, became POMA members, and then quickly got jobs inside the industry. And I think 3 of them are still in the hunting industry today, producing, really, really great, work for their employers. And I'm not going to name their names because I mean they really, I don't really want to take credit for what they did. They were all incredibly talented in and of themselves, but each one of them grew exponentially through working with me, but also through joining this organization. And immediately I saw the value of like what POMA was doing. And so, that being said, I also joined, a lot of the other writers organizations that are out there. There's small state organizations. I think I was a member of CIOPA at the time as well. A GLOW, which is the Greater Lakes Outdoor Writers. I'm a member of the Hoosier Outdoor Writers in Indiana. I don't live in Indiana, but it's like, why not support that organization? And ultimately, the vast majority of outdoor writer organizations, I'm happy to be a member. Like any one of them should reach out to me and ask me to sign up because I will, send my dues in the very next day. Like the best way I've learned in my life to succeed is through being a kind of super connector. And so like my goal in life is to, if I can, meet 5 people and introduce them to 5 more people that I know will help them, then we all win because the industry grows. And these organizations allow people to connect at a very, very base level and learn from those that are surrounding them. And so it's very, very important for me to be a member of POMA and to be on the board and to guide this organization to grow exponentially over the next 10 to 15 years because I know the value of what it did for me and what it's done for so many other outdoor creators, outdoor publishers, outdoor writers, editors, photographers, videographers. There's so many of us that could tell the story of, having, gotten work because they were a member and because they were able to network around a campfire at a conference or, they were in a seminar together and they were able to connect. And those connections are just exponential in being able to grow in this industry.
So hint number 2 or Hutch's tip number 2 is simply, if you want to be in this industry, be in this industry. I'm a member of POMA, have been for a number of years, and I've met some fantastic people, made great connections and networked. And that's not going to end. But I'll tell you one thing, just don't join, pay your dues, and don't do anything. Connect with the people, talk to the people, submit things to POMA, and become part of the group that represents what you're doing in your career. Does that make sense, Kevin?
Oh, 100%. It takes execution. Like if you're going to join, I don't care whether it's the Better Business Bureau or the Chamber of Commerce or POMA or GLOW or any of these organizations, in order to be successful in those organizations, you have to be a participant and you have to execute and go to the networking meetings and utilize the membership directory and read the content. We send out a newsletter to 150 members, and on any given day, when we send out that newsletter, there's 40 or 50 members that never read those email blasts. And I think that's incredibly sad news because I'm like, you're a member, we're putting out this content for you, and you're not reading it. as a member. So it's like, there's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is. If people want to become a member of an organization and not actually participate in the organization's, you know, stated purpose, basically, there's not a lot that I, young writers into hunting life. And I tell them basically, like, here are the tools. Here is the membership directory. Here is how to, reach out to these individuals. And, don't be afraid to ask them for, guidance. And actually, like, I was just at Pheasant Fest this last weekend. And Pheasant Fest is one of those amazing conservation shows that I try to attend almost every single year. And it's not it's not an industry show, it's a conservation show, but it's a conservation organization that is just so hyper connected, and they have just some of the just greatest people, at that show, individuals like Mark Nordquist or Hank Shaw, and all of these individuals that are focused on the dogs and the upland game, and being there. And I had this young outdoor photographer who's really starting to excel and blow up, and he's producing some just amazing fly fishing content on his own channel. And he wants to get more into hunting and producing content for that. And he came to me and he's asking me for advice, and we're going to bring him on into writing for Hunting Life. I can't wait. I'm super excited. And he asked me, like, okay, if you could go back and do it all over again, like what would you do? And I said, well, there's only really two things. I said, I would have joined one of these organizations sooner, and I would have stayed in college and I would have gotten my master's in fine writing. Those are the two, and I probably would have taken more photography classes. Those are probably the three things that I would do, like, over again if I could start fresh. Maybe I wouldn't have bought an outfitting business, but I think that I don't know. The outfitting business was great because it taught me, on the ground experience. But I tell people it's a Harvard education. I could have bought 4 years at Harvard for what I lost in that business. But live and learn. Across the board, those are the things that I would do. Like, if I tell every kid, stay in school, take more writing courses. Take some more photography courses. Those are just paramount. Understanding how a camera operates, and understanding vision for, like, how you compose a photo or how you compose a video set. Like, understanding that's just epic in this world of content creation, especially in the world of social media and Instagram Reels and TikTok and all of these things. These are all important tools to share, our passion for the outdoors, just as much as, a huntinglife.com or a meat eater or, a Peterson's, hunting journal. Social media has more eyeballs than any one magazine, for sure.
Yes, they do. And one thing I remember last fall, you were heading up to the Dakotas and doing some custom photography. Now, is that your first commercial job up there as a photographer?
Yeah, it really was. It's I've been a photographer for years. Took photography classes in high school, and I've always photographed for my own articles and for huntinglife.com and for the outfitting business. But probably in 2011, 2012, our local PF chapter here, Pheasants Forever, does a youth mentor hunt. And, I had some pretty good camera equipment, and I'd done videography for some television shows at that time, but I'd never really done, just a photo shoot. And so I came in and I would basically photograph this youth mentor hunt, and I'd shoot 500 to 1,000 photos in a day, and then I'd pare down and pick the best photos. And I did that for like 9, 10 years. And I still do it every year because I just absolutely love it. To spend time watching these kids, like, the light bulb go off when they actually shoot a pheasant, it's just epic. And I get to see all of that through a camera lens. And a friend of mine, Dave Olson with Pheasant Fun, and Olson's Pheasant Lodge in Hitchcock, Nebraska, Hitchcock, South Dakota. Sorry. Um, I had shown him some of my photos, and he's like, "Why don't you come up and photograph some of our clients?" And I said, "I'd absolutely love to." And so, this year I came up and I filmed like 5 different groups over 15 days, and I shot close to 8,000, 9,000 photos. And, I they actually wrote me a check at the end of their hunts, and I handed them the photos, and I had the best time of my life. Those 15 days were the highlight of my, 2023 hunting experience. I never once picked up a shotgun. I never, killed a bird, but I had more fun hunting with Dave Olson and his clients with a, brand new Olympus camera in my hands. And, I was hunting perfect pictures, and I just loved it. It is a absolute passion. And as long as Dave will have me, I will be there every single year. Um, yeah, I just love it. I get to go back at the end of the day and I get to look through those pictures and I'm like, oh, that's a good one. And you click through 3 or 4 more and like, oh, that's a good one. And I just keep putting them in folders, and I take that group of good photos, and then, I go through and, I'll straighten a few of them and crop a few of them, and then throw them into, a folder, and then basically save it. And then at dinner, we show them those photos, and they get to see and replay that day in their head. And they get to take all those photos home. And they just pay me a day rate. It's like I said, it's the best fun in the entire world. They're walking in a line, and it's very regimented for them, and they're really focused on killing pheasant and the camaraderie of them and their friends. And I'm not really connected to that group per se, but I'm kind of walking in and around all of these people. And then I'm walking in and among the dogs that are out there rolling. And at any one point, if we've got 10 hunters in the field, there's 6 dogs in the field as well. And then there's, 2 or 3 guides in the field, and usually at least 3, and sometimes 4. And, I'm taking pictures of everything. I'm taking pictures of the guides, and I'm taking pictures of the dogs, and I'm taking pictures of the pheasant flying up out of the corn, and I'm taking pictures of the people and the smiles on their face and their shotguns up, and the shells coming out of the semi-autos, and the opening up the over and unders, and the smoke coming out of the barrel. And man, I'm just having the best time of my life.
I want to be there. I want to be
Yeah,
there.
it's epic fun.
And
Yeah, and
folks,
and it's come, if you want to come and hunt at Dave Olson's Pheasant Fun, again, drop me an email, kevin@huntinglife.com, and I'll happily put you in front of Dave Olson. Or you can search Pheasant Fun, and it's pheasant, PHUN, pheasantfun.com, and they can book a hunt, and you can book me as the photographer that comes and takes photographs of your group. um,
yeah,
Dave runs a unique operation, and it's absolutely fascinating. All the groups that come in are all groups that know each other. So it's a group that basically books his lodge for 3 days. Individual hunters don't, they don't book a day to come in and hunt. That's not kind of how Dave runs his operation, because it's pheasant hunting. You want to be hunting with people you actually know. And so he books groups from 6 people all the way up to 12, 15 people.
and I've had the pleasure through Kevin. Kevin and I were talking last fall when we was heading up there on one of the trips, one of his shoots, photo shoots. And I talked to Dave, and he's a character. He runs a great operation, and even will pick you up right at the airport if you fly in your own jet. So it's a wonderful experience, and I've never been there. And hopefully someday I'll be able to get up there and carry Kevin's photo bag around. Who knows? But anyway, there's a shout out for Dave Olson. That's for sure. So Kevin, hunting life, where do you see that moving to in the next 3 to 5 years?
Right now, we just kind of relaunched our magazine, and I could not be happier with the quality of it and where that's kind of headed. So, this year we've got 3 more issues to produce. Of course, we produce content for the website every single day. Um, 5 days a week there is new content going up on huntinglife.com. We have close to 18,000 articles embedded into the website. And I expect that, by the end of the year, we'll be well over 20,000 articles in huntinglife.com. And I continue to see that grow exponentially. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, you know, I still have a dream and belief that we could produce a print magazine. It would have to be a pretty small audience, but, and it would probably be pretty expensive to actually produce a real print magazine. But at the moment, I mean, that would be my dream. Um, I know what I would like to create as far as a print magazine, and we're producing that same exact magazine right this minute in a digital form. So I'm incredibly happy with that. I'd love to see our readership grow exponentially, and I'd love to be a bigger conduit for introducing more young content creators to this industry. And I'll continue to work on that probably until the day I die.
So again, if I want to subscribe to Hunting Life digital magazine, how do I do that?
Yeah, right now you go to huntinglife.com, and you can, you don't really have to subscribe. We're working on a new subscription button for our website, and it'll be there soon. But at the moment, basically just go to huntinglife.com and read the magazine. It's on our menu bar, and you can click to magazines and scroll down to the latest issue and go through and read it. We will put a new QR code and a new button where people can subscribe. And I think we'll be doing some giveaways this year where people can subscribe and they'll get, an email when the new magazine launches.
Any final thoughts as we wrap up this edition of Hutch on Hunting?
If you like to tell stories in this industry, and if you want to, produce content, reach out to me. And I'm happy to put you in touch with, Poma, or with myself with Hunting Life, or even if you just are producing content already and you want somebody to share that content, hit me up, because we're always interested in sharing great content for our readers, fans, followers, etc.
Thank you, Kevin, for being a guest. And folks, I say this on every show because it's important. We have a ballot issue in Colorado, Proposition 91, that's going to allow people that know nothing about wildlife conservation, the North American Mile of wildlife conservation, to decide whether we should continue to hunt cats, bobcats, and lynx. Oh, by the way, lynx you can't hunt anyway, but that's still in the bill. So Save the Hunt, Colorado.com, spearheaded by my friend Dan Gates, needs your help. I don't care where in the nation you are, because if the radicals, and that's what they are, the radicals who do not want hunting to exist, the tradition of hunting to exist, ground zero is Colorado. If they win in Colorado, which they've already had a win with the reintroduction of wolves because they put it on the ballot, they took the management out of the hands of Colorado Parks and Wildlife, the people, the professionals who will understand what it takes to manage wildlife. So I'm asking you, everybody, to go savethehuntcolorado.com, $5, $1, doesn't matter, because we're in a fight for every single state that allows hunting. And I think that's probably every single state. So this is Hutch on Hunting says, get involved, make a difference.